Welcome to the Retrospect podcast, a show where people come together from different walks of life and discuss a topic from their generation's perspective. My name is Ian, and as always, I'm joined by Jason.
Hello, everyone.
And Stoney.
Hello.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Right?
Yes.
I feel like we should have jingle bells. Ding it.
This is our Christmas episode.
This is releasing on Christmas Day. What a big one.
Yeah.
So,
It's this year went by
Oh,
so damn fast.
I was talking.
It's hard to believe we're here.
Yes.
You know what's really funny about it is as fast as this year went, I actually can't remember almost 2 weeks of it.
Well, I
Because of
wonder
the
what
accident.
caused that.
So I even lost more of the year than normal.
I was talking to a friend of mine, and we both agreed. We both had the same feeling for this past year. We felt like the beginning of the year was long and really drawn out, and we felt like our summer lasted a pretty significant amount of time. But we both had talked about towards the tail end of summer, it started to feel a little quick, and then like before you know it, poof, like the end of the year was here, and I was like, I felt the same exact way. I don't know what happened. Like I felt like I fell asleep in September, and now it's December now.
Well, let me share something with y'all. Since we are a generational show,
Okay.
and Ian, you are the somewhat representative of the millennials.
Right.
Jason, you are the representative of the X-Gen, and I'm the boomer. Forrest Gump got it wrong.
Oh gosh.
Life is not like a box of chocolates.
All right.
As the older generation, I can share with y'all that life is more like a roll of toilet paper.
Mm-hmm.
The closer to the end you get, the faster it goes.
No. Oh gosh.
And it's definitely true. And you'll notice, Ian, the older you get, those years are going to start getting
I
quicker
even
and
feel it
quicker.
now.
Yeah, I think about you talk. You made me think about something about toilet paper, and I was like, what is the most disconcerting thing?
Mm-hmm.
Is when you need toilet paper
Mm-hmm.
and you realize I'm at the last part and I have none left in the cabinet.
Yep.
Mhm.
What do you do?
I've always been of the mindset that I will buy in bulk, like non-perishable stuff like that. So like I have always like I have a rule of thumb. If there's like 4 left or so, I'm like, it's time.
Time to get
Because
some
I
more.
just don't ever want to get. I have been in that place before, and in a
I
way,
think everybody has.
Well, it's not just the running out, but it's also, remember, we did an episode on things you should not pinch pennies on.
You're right.
And one of my top 3 was toilet paper,
You're right.
because I'm going to get the good stuff.
You're right.
Yeah, there for a while we had a shortage of it.
Oh gosh.
You bust through 1 or 2 times and poke your finger up, you going to say, I need better
no.
toilet paper.
Yeah.
I need better toilet paper.
Oh, no.
Give me some Charmin.
Not a sponsor. But yeah, I'll always
Maybe
with
they
stuff
should
like
be,
that.
huh?
Shampoo, like other things like that, or hand soap. There have been so many times where I feel like I always have like or toothpaste is a big one. Anytime I'm ever like getting really close, I always just like have an extra in the cabinet. So that way, whenever one's done, I just like go get another one. So there's always like an extra one in the cabinet because I will usually always forget.
You do rotate it, though, right?
Right? Yeah.
Okay, good.
First in, first out. Always.
First in, first out.
Working at a coffee shop really helped that out. For me. always the milks, first in, first out. But yeah. So so this is our Christmas episode, and I guess
What we're going to talk about, guys?
Well, we like the origins of Christmas and what Christmas means to us, and if we have any specific fond memories of Christmas and stuff like that.
I've got some, I think back, I was a big Christmas-like guy when I was younger.
Okay.
So it was a tradition, and I love Christmas.
Right.
It's my favorite time of the year. And you're talking about somebody who does not put up even a Christmas tree
Okay.
or anymore. I just don't do any of that anymore. But at one time in my life, I was very much a Christmas fanatic when it came to Christmas decorations.
Really?
So yeah, I had a
Like
tradition.
vacation kind of.
No, just decorations, like just decorating the yard with lights
Oh, yeah.
and all that other stuff. And
What was his name? The guy in Vacation that did it up when he
Chevy
hit
Chase?
Chevy Chase.
Yeah,
and-
Christmas
That's what I'm
Vacation.
talking. Yeah, Christmas Vacation.
yeah,
you
well,
went that far out.
Yeah, I was that crazy when it came to lights, and I had gotten inspired by this lady in my neighborhood who really did her like lights everywhere. You know, you've seen those houses where there's like thousands of lights and all kind of thing. Oh, well, I just got fascinated with Christmas decorations when I was a young kid. So, of course, I started pestering my parents about buying some more lights, and then the little money I would make, I'd buy some additional stuff.
So you were young.
Yes.
Okay.
I was still living at home.
Okay. I thought you were like a young
no,
adult.
I'm talking about, I was young.
I thought the same thing, too.
I was young. I
right.
was probably in grade school when I just got this thing on with Christmas lights.
Yeah.
So I would start buying lights, and my mom and dad were like, we could do all these Christmas lights. Mm-hmm. So I started getting out there. So it was like the day after Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah.
I would start, and I'd start, lights in the trees, lights coming down from the roof, lining the roof.
Oh yeah.
I bought even the big items. Now, of course, I don't see those kind of Christmas decorations anymore. Everything's all this inflatable stuff now. Mm-hmm. At the time, it was that kind of like blown plastic.
Yes.
Type stuff. So I mean, I had the Santa Claus and the reindeers. I had the snowmen. I had the candy canes. I had even a choo-choo train.
Yeah.
Okay, when I tell you, I was like going all out with this stuff. I mean, people were like coming from out of town to see to pass by the house because it was just something that I enjoyed doing. I love just being out there working with the lights and just the whole Christmas spirit.
Of course.
And eventually we moved to another house, and I did that, and then somebody vandalized the house.
Oh, gosh.
Stole all my stuff, cut my lights. It was a terrible ordeal.
How old were you when that happened?
I was in college.
Okay.
Dang.
I tried to do it again the following year, and wasn't quite what I was used to, but I ended up basically frying my parents' house.
Oh, no.
Yeah, overloaded the circuit, and I burned everything up.
Dang.
So, yeah, it was a bad deal.
Have you thought about revisiting it now with all the new LED technology?
No, I haven't.
May I say, though, there are really nice light strands now where, I don't know if I'm pretty sure you had this, where, like, if one light bulb would go out, the whole strand would go out.
Oh, yes, I fought that all the time.
It doesn't do it anymore.
Oh, God, back in the day.
I remember I used to have a tree like that. If one light was out, the whole section of the tree was out, or the whole tree was out. Now, if one of the lights is out on the tree that we currently have, it's just that one. I'm like, oh,
yeah. What was those? I would come in. I would go. Of course, my mom, my dad were like, "I can't believe you're doing all these lights." Yeah. But yes, I loved Christmas, but unfortunately, ever since that time, it just turned into a bad taste. I didn't want to fool with it anymore.
Yeah.
And I lost all my lights, and I don't have none of that stuff anymore.
Dang.
It's all gone. But because I lost a lot of stuff when that person stole all my stuff.
Dang,
because you just can't find that stuff anymore.
Of course.
So yeah, I'm not a Scrooge, but I just don't feel like putting up lights anymore. I don't put up a Christmas tree. I don't put up any of that stuff anymore. Dang. And but I love Christmas, and I love going to other people's houses that have all that.
Right.
But I don't put up any of that stuff. I thought maybe this year I might put up a wreath on the door. I couldn't even get the energy to do that.
Okay. Well, we'll get you for next year. We'll dip your toe.
I said, well, maybe I'll put lights around the door.
There you go. Yeah,
just maybe
just the porch.
Just the porch. And, it's like maybe I should, but every time we get to that time of the year, it's like I always find something else.
Yeah.
You have a tree in your front yard. You need to line the trunk with lights and go out up into the tree.
There's some things I could do.
Baby steps. Well,
maybe if we promise him some cookies.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
You want to talk about bad taste in my mouth. I felt so. I don't know.
Cookies this year.
Did I tell the story about this on the podcast?
No.
Okay, so it was probably about a month ago at this point, sometime in November, or maybe it was a few weeks ago. I can't even remember at this point. But it was, I had mistaken that I thought that the episode we're going to be recording was going to be here at the studio, but in fact it was going to be recorded at a different location, and I I read the date wrong, and so I had the cookies prepared, but I got a text from Stoney saying, "Hey bud, you coming to do the podcast?" And I was like, Yeah, I'm gonna be there. I'm just gonna be a little bit late, and the cookies weren't done yet. I didn't even put them in the
see, if
oven
I'd have known
yet.
that, I'd have turned the damn oven on. I
Yeah.
just said, bring the cookies. I'd have had both ovens ready for you.
I was
It'd
really
have been
looking forward
preheated
to
when
some
you got
cookies.
this.
I know, and again, I'm just working at the courage to do it again because it requires a lot of work to make them, and I'm just like,
Maybe you can do them for next week.
maybe I could make that happen as a New Year's
As a culmination of our year.
Yeah, I could do that.
That'll
I could
work.
make that happen.
Well, we need to get a bottle of champagne too for the episode.
I'm always down for that.
All right.
Well,
Ian's chocolate chip cookies and champagne.
They do go really well with coffee. I'm not gonna lie, but
yeah. Well, unfortunately, I don't have any Kopi Luwak.
well,
I'm waiting.
yeah.
Volcanica Coffee Company. You're still showing you're sold out. I need some more Kopi Luwak.
Well, I mean, like, if it is sustainably sourced, maybe that is what it is. It's just a
maybe it's seasonal.
You know what it may be?
They gotta wait for the cats to poop.
You know what it is? It's probably the fact we keep hyping it up on this show. I'm not gonna say we're not gonna say we're super famous like some big podcasts out there, but we do have a pretty large sizable audience, and I wouldn't be surprised if we got people buying them out. We keep talking about them. We're getting some sort of but anyways, baby steps. Maybe I'll gift them some nice LED lights. And
it's funny we talk about cookies. That's one of the best memories I have about Christmas time. On my dad's side of the family, it was Granny and Papa. On my mom's side, it's Grandma and Grandpa.
Mm-hmm.
And we enjoy going to Grandma and Grandpa's house. They had this wonderful old farmhouse. And my great-grandmother, my grandmother's mother, used to make the most amazing oatmeal cookies.
Oh gosh.
And you can't use beaters. You have to mix it by hand and things like that. And she would spend time before Christmas, and you get a little bag with them. Mm-hmm. There may be 3 to 5 cookies in each little bag. Yeah. Except every year there was 1, 2, or 3, depending on how she felt, shoe boxes full of oatmeal cookies.
Gosh.
And you really wanted your name to be on one of those boxes of cookies.
Yeah, of course.
Because everybody, she did it. She hand wrote the little name and stuff for everybody, and she remembered everybody. But a couple of people would get one box of and you wanted to be that person.
And you want to know, speaking of that, you want to know what I did this year that I was going to do for you guys. But again, like I said, because of scheduling stuff, I messed up. Was I got these nice boxes, nice little square boxes that I could all fold together and stuff like that. And I put them in there and then, wrote some names that I was going to give them to you guys.
He wrote some names. They just weren't our names.
Yeah.
That's what it was. I see how it is.
Yeah. I just knew they weren't going to last a whole week. If I sat around on those cookies for a whole week and people knew about them.
I live 4 minutes away, and Jason will travel for your cookies, right, Jason?
I would.
If he called you up and said, "Hey, I got some cookies," how long would it take you to get in the car and drive?
Didn't you use a bit of the Kopi Luwak?
It wasn't the Kopi Luwak.
What did you use?
The Kona.
The Kona.
Yeah,
yes.
The Kona.
Yeah.
Well,
so what's the memory you got from Christmas, Ian? What's something fond memory for you?
I got some great fond memories from Christmas. For me, I've realized in my life as a musician, I've always kind of been fond of a saxophone, like in its proper element and it being utilized properly. I feel like it can be cheesy, it can be over the top, it can be not good, but there are certain usages of a saxophone in a song or in a piece that I have really fallen in love with, and I've never understood why. But the past few months, I think I've realized where my love of it has come from. And there was a specific Kenny G album. It's a Christmas album. I think he's done 3 or 4 of them. But there was one in particular my mom used to put on while we would unwrap presents. And it was kind of just in the background. It was low. But for some reason, and again, I think she had it on CD. And this was, she did it for a handful of years when I was a child. And so I remember stumbling across that album this time last year, and was like, oh my gosh, this is like bringing back my childhood, it felt like. And then I think I've realized that like my appreciation and love for the saxophone came from that, because obviously Kenny G is, again, can be kind of cheesy, but is also he's really good. And so I remember that specifically. And my grandma would always be around. My grandma on my mom's side would always be there for Christmas. And so like having my mom there, having my dad there, my brothers, myself, and my grandma there was always just like a big, that was my family. I didn't really have any other relatives, never really had any cousins a whole lot. So like whenever all of them were around, it just felt like the whole family was there. And, my grandma always made lemon meringue pie and all kinds of stuff like that. So there's all kinds of like desserts and treats and stuff that I also attribute with Christmas. And my mom also decorated a lot as well. We never really did lights that much, but like decorations in the house were a big thing. And so like there are certain candles and other decorations that I have now inherited from my mom that are very reminiscent, very nostalgic for me. So, but yeah.
So what's some origins of Christmas?
Oh gosh,
there's a lot of origins of it. Some of them are Christian, some of them are pagan, some of them are all kind of stuff.
I was kind of,
I would be surprised if you didn't have some type of statistics or some.
Well, I mean, there's really no statistics when it comes to this per se. There's a lot of there is a lot of some of this material is very dense as far as the origins of Christmas, but the December 25th date was not something that took some time to kind of eventually be settled on. I was reading here, I find it kind of interesting that Christmas was not among the earliest festivals of the church. Some of these particular figures, which we call church fathers, Irenaeus and Tertullian, they admit it from their list of feasts. Origen, glancing perhaps at the discernible imperial, asserts that the scriptures, sinners alone, not saints, celebrate their birthday. And that's kind of interesting that if you look at early Christianity as far as how people are celebrated, it's the day they died. It's not the day they're born. Matter of fact, in the early church, it was considered you're basically like the heathens, people who celebrate their birthdays.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, so that was considered a pagan thing, is celebrating a birthday. You celebrated your death day because that's the day you're going to be with God.
Wow.
So, according to this, it says the first evidence of the feast is from Egypt. Clement of Alexandria, about 200 AD, says that certain Egyptian theologians over-curiously assign not the year alone, but the day of Christ's birth, placing it on the 25th of Pachon, if I'm pronouncing that right, May the 20th, in the 28th year of Augustus. So it's obviously them trying to figure out, because the scriptures, as we know, does not indicate a date,
right?
That Christ was born. So a lot of it there was some early celebrations of the actual nativity part, and then there was a separate celebration of the Epiphany. Which was the coming of the Magi, and that some people thinks that the idea of giving gifts originated from the idea of the Magi coming to and bringing gifts to the baby Jesus. So
you see, for a while there, my mom and dad didn't celebrate gifts on Christmas. They made us wait until Little Christmas, which is January the 6th, which is Epiphany. When supposedly the wise men brought the gifts and gave them to Jesus. They didn't do that the day he was born. And so for a while there, all the kids in the neighborhood were getting their stuff, and we had to wait,
Right.
many days.
In the eastern side of the church, many people celebrate because they still use the Julian calendar. which they celebrate Christmas on January 6th. And some do it on January 7th. So it just kind of depends. There's a lot of information. I had no idea it was as in-depth on some of this stuff. I was trying to find something that was a little bit more, kind of more like 10,000 foot, view of that. But the early Christian community distinguished between the identification of the date of Jesus' birth and the liturgical celebration of that event.
Right.
The actual observance of the day of Jesus' birth was long in coming. In particular, during the first 2 centuries of Christianity, there was strong opposition to recognizing birthdays of martyrs, or for that matter, of Jesus. So obviously, this whole idea of celebrating somebody's day of birth was kind of like a
okay,
yeah, so like a bit of a so I which I found that's kind of interesting actually. They said numerous church fathers offered sarcastic comments about the pagan custom of celebrating birthdays.
Oh, gosh.
When in fact, saints and martyrs should be honored on the days of their martyrdom.
Oh, gosh.
Their true birthdays.
Oh, wow.
From the church's perspective.
I see. Okay.
Say, that's what I'm saying. So
interesting.
It's funny how, that's what I'm saying, we celebrate birthdays. We probably don't even know why we celebrate birthdays.
Yeah.
But that's an actual pagan custom.
Wow.
Of celebrating someone's born. Right.
Interesting.
Yeah. So,
which then brings in the commercialism of holidays and things like that. Somebody, some store decided, hey, we can capitalize on this.
But yeah, I did pick up that really the date of December 25th was first identified as the date of Jesus' birth by Sextus Julius Africanus in AD 221, and later became the universally accepted date.
Okay.
So,
wow.
But
that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I believe I'm trying to think, was that a pope? It might have been Pope Sextus Julius Africanus, if I'm not mistaken, but it doesn't really say. It may not be. He may just be some prominent person at that time.
Yeah.
Now, some explain where does December 25th come from? As Christianity spread in basically a once pagan, Roman Empire, the Christianizing of certain days, and they list a time here of Dies Solis Invicta Natii, the day of birth of the unconquered sun. Wow! So you can see where you have people worshiping the coming of the sun to cast away the new birth, right, and that corresponding to the actual Son of God. Mm-hmm. So you can kind of maybe, that's a possible explanation. There are others actually, and I don't want to kind of because a lot of times people will throw that in there. I think it's probably a lot more convoluted than just that. Some attach that with the winter solstice as a symbol of the resurgence of the sun and the casting away of winter and the heralding of the rebirth of spring and summer. Yeah, they said, indeed, after December 25th had become widely accepted as the date of Jesus' birth, Christian writers frequently made the connection between the rebirth of the sun and the rebirth of the sun.
Oh, wow.
One of the difficulties with this view is that it suggests a nonchalant willingness on the part of the Christian church to appropriate a pagan festival when the early church was so intent on distinguishing itself categorically from pagan beliefs and practices. So that's what I'm saying. So a lot of times you'll see people throw this idea of these, Christmas is pagan. Yeah. Well, that's a little kind of an oversimplistic.
It has some pagan roots,
right?
Maybe.
It's a little oversimplistic in how that's kind of presented.
Yeah.
So, there's nobody that's a Christian right now, and they go to mass or they go to a service. They're not worshiping the sun and the sky.
Right.
Okay. I mean, it's just, I think some people kind of get a little carried away with some of that stuff.
I mean, it's the roots that make all the difference.
Right.
It's like, the Christmas tree. Why do we use that?
Yep.
Because it's an evergreen.
Right.
Well, that was early Celtic pagan things where they used the evergreen to say this is eternal life.
Right.
Well, that's kind of, this is the sun. This represents Jesus. This represents eternal life. And so we use the Christmas tree. So it has a lot of roots in it.
Right.
But that's what people pulled their information from too.
Right. Exactly.
So
I agree.
I could see where they used that and did that. And you're going to have a lot of blending and that kind of stuff anyway. So
yeah, it's interesting to read on some of these things. But at one time Christmas was illegal in the United States.
Really?
Yeah,
did not know that.
Yes, it was illegal during the time of the Puritans. When they came, because of this association of giving gifts and kind of this materialistic kind of thing, it actually was illegal in the United States, I believe in the early 1800s or late 1700s. Yeah, it was, I don't forget where I read that at, but it
makes sense with, you said, the Puritans and stuff.
Yeah, I'd like to. Yeah, they say here it says they say, talking about the Christmas tree. It appears that fir trees decorated with apples were first known in Strasbourg in 1605.
Wow.
The first use of candles on such trees is recorded by a Silesian duchess in 1611.
Candles?
Yeah, it used to be candles.
The Advent wreath made of fir branches with 4 candles denoting the 4 Sundays of the Advent season is of even more recent origin, especially in North America. They say the custom, which began in the 19th century but had roots in the 16th century, originally involved a fir wreath with 24 candles, the 24 days before Christmas starting December 1st. But the awkwardness of having so many candles, basically they say we got to reduce it to 4.
And burning down the house.
Yeah, I can see.
It's more a fire hazard.
They say,
Well, it's funny that you said that about the 16th century because that's when they believe that decorating the whole tree was started in Germany in the 16th century. And it really became popular in England during Queen Victoria's reign, thanks to her husband, Prince Albert, I believe was his name. And he just brought that tradition to the royal family. So it was lightly decorated, but then in the 16th century, it started becoming this massive feat to start decorating the trees and putting candles or that was their equivalent of lights, I guess you could say. And I think that's for a while there why even our Christmas lights kind of look like candles at one time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And talk about what I mentioned about the idea that Christmas was illegal in the United States at one time. It says toward the end of the 18th century, the practice of giving gifts to family members had become well established. Theologically, the feast day reminded Christians of God's gift of Jesus to humankind, even as the coming of the wise men or magi to Bethlehem suggested that Christmas was somehow related to giving gifts. The practice of giving gifts, which goes back to the 15th century, contributed to the view that Christmas was a secular holiday, focused on family and friends. This was one reason why Puritans in Old and New England opposed the celebration of Christmas, and both England and America succeeded in banning its observance.
Wow.
I think that started to change when other immigrant groups started to come that came from areas that had this tradition of giving gifts and doing all these things.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's an
they probably realized the benefit of, saying if you're good, you get presents, and if you're bad, you get a lump of coal. So, hey, we can control our kids with this Christmas thing here, and we might need to, utilize that a little bit, right? And now it's mutated to Elf on the Shelf.
Yeah, exactly. That is a huge thing now. This
stupid.
Elf on the Shelf.
You know what it is? I have been thinking about this for a while. You know what I think it is? Is that I think the Elf on the Shelf, if I'm not mistaken, it kind of grew in popularity in, I think, your generation a little bit, and like a little bit of mine, where it was like that was like a.
I just never remember the Elf on the Shelf.
I think
ever.
What I'm saying is that I think there was a time when it was kind of popular for a brief moment in time in like the 70s, I think in the 80s possibly, which is kind of before my time, but I don't think that tradition carried through like as much as it has. But I think my generation, had Elf on the Shelf for probably a majority of their childhood, and then stopped it for a while because I think their parents had stopped it or they stopped it or whatever. And I think that like the reason why there's a resurgence of it is because now people in my age range are becoming adults, and now that's like nostalgic. It always works in cycles like that, and I feel like the reason why it's popping back up in popularity is because it's been probably 20 to 30 years, I think, since it kind of came out. I could be wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's what it is.
That is a huge thing.
Nostalgic.
Nostalgia.
Nostalgia sells. And that's all it is, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
And now they have different variants of it, if you've heard of any of them, but got a whole bunch of different ones.
They got some good stuff here. I mean, it's very... I always kind of like to read about how other parts of the world celebrate holidays and, these kind of things. But in areas where Christianity is very small, it's a whole different ball game. I mean, it's in South and Central America, unique religious and secular traditions mark Christmas. In Mexico, on days leading up to Christmas, in search of Mary and Joseph for a place to stay is reenacted, and children try to break a piñata filled with toys and candy.
Fun.
Christmas is a great summer festival in Brazil, including picnics, fireworks, and other festivities, as well as a solemn procession of priests to the church to celebrate midnight mass. In some parts of India, the evergreen Christmas tree is replaced by the mango tree or bamboo tree.
Wow.
And houses are decorated with mango leaves and paper stars. Christmas largely remains a Christian holiday and is otherwise not widely observed because, India is not.
Yeah.
In Japan, and that's predominantly Shinto and Buddhist, people over there, Christmas trees and decorations, even the singing of Christmas songs such as Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer or White Christmas is widely observed instead of religious aspect. So it's more of a family day than it is more of a religious day. And I would venture to say for a good bit now, it's primarily a family day now.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably lost a lot of the religious significance of which I think is a bad thing, but that's just me.
Japan loves KFC on Christmas.
Yes, that's a tradition. Is KFC in Japan? Yep.
I think it's probably I don't know what there's some videos online that describe it far better than I can. But back in I think like the 70s and 80s, there was a big push for KFC in Japan and all that kind of other stuff like that, where they're American companies like that and fast food chains, and for some reason the bucket of KFC fried chicken for like getting it on Christmas is a very big tradition.
But yeah, I mean, Christmas is translated, and it's Mass on Christ's Day. It's the word. It's an English term. But yeah, Mass on Christ's Day, Christmas. Christmas.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Interesting.
So it's some good stuff. I mean, I was reading this new Advent on the origins of Christmas, and I'm telling you, the amount of material.
Oh yeah.
they give you, it's just
Well, I think it's
incredible.
also, I think even like before you get to even Christmas, I think there's also, I think in Scandinavian lore, there's like the Yule, and Yuletide, all that kind of stuff is like a big thing, and how even today they have, different things that they, but like the beginnings of what, became of Christmas, and, the things that are even different in some countries that they practice, and they are part of their heritage and their people and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, now, according to this, and you said the term Yule is of disputed origin, it is unconnected with any word meaning wheel.
Mm.
The name in Anglo-Saxon was Geol, Geol, feast, Geola, the name of a month. In Icelandic, it's a feast in December.
Interesting. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So there's probably some connection somehow.
And I think some of it too, like a lot of these kind of feasts and things and stuff like that are at the end of the winter solstice or something like that, or at the beginning of the winter solstice they do. So a lot of it, like even predating some of that sort of stuff, is like, a lot of, I think even how some calendars were, once upon a time were laid out was like based on harvest time. you had the frost, the planting of the seeds, the hot months, and then the harvest, and that kind of the rotating around of the calendar and the celebrations and all that kind of stuff. I'm a big fan of J.R.R. Tolkien and like all his like the Lord of the Rings stuff and all that kind of stuff. It's obviously a lot of literary work. There's a lot of stuff there.
Oh yeah, there's a lot.
But there's like a big. He created an entirely new calendar for like the folk of the hobbits and things like that. So I've looked into that a little bit and how it works the same sort of way of, they're a very happy folk of people that like, farming and food and all that kind of stuff. And so their calendar very much revolves around that, and they have feasts on days, and a lot of it takes from, a real life. And so there's like Yule and a feast for all that kind of stuff. And so it's interesting.
Second breakfast.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Tea.
Tolkien was
crazy.
It's
crazy.
He was awesome. A genius.
Yeah.
I mean, he really was, to create that world that he did. I enjoyed the movies.
Oh yeah, movies were great for what they were. But I'm
hoping the new series. I hope they fix.
Oh gosh, we don't get it.
Hope they fix that. But
we don't got it.
That's off topic. But maybe that's another episode.
To save my skin on the internet, I will abstain from my comments from anything like that. But I guess my question to you guys is, because I have a story that's directly connected to this, is like, how has Christmas changed over the years for you guys, or like for better or for worse? Like, is there new traditions that you guys have done now? I mean, obviously, you said at one point in time, you kind of touched on that before.
Definitely, it's changed.
As opposed to, doing all the lights, and of course, something happens.
It was a different time in my life. I mean, my daddy was still alive at that time. I mean, it was before my dad got sick. But I mean, I think fondly on those years. I really do. It was great. I enjoyed that immensely, of getting out there. I was just I was on fire.
Oh yeah,
with the Christmas spirit. There was something magical. And when I had all my lights up and I had the Christmas music playing, I think fondly on the was it those claymation cartoons where the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Santa Claus is coming to town. I loved all that. I really did. So, the idea of waking up and the way you'd go to bed and wake up and all the presents would be out.
Right.
You wake up like 2:00 in the morning. You're trying to, everything would be laid out all over the den.
It's like the definition of Advent. It's just like the expectation.
It was, and a part of me in some way felt like there is Santa Claus.
There you go.
You know, a part of me, the spirit of St. Nicholas, who's also an interesting figure.
Oh, yeah.
You know, people kind of look at me and kind of think you're crazy, but, you know, part of me believes that there is Santa Claus. And it's kind of in a way the way I think about it.
Yeah.
But, you know, I believe in St. Nick. There was a St. Nicholas. He's not the jolly guy in the red suit driving around on reindeers, but
thanks Coca-Cola.
Yeah. But I mean, the idea of that is just very appealing to me.
Right.
I guess I'm always looking for the magical with life and the mysterious and you know, not everything is all figured out. So part of Christmas is just something magical about it. That's why I still love it to this day. Even though I don't put up lights and all like I used to, there's still part of me that loves Christmas.
Yeah.
And
well, it's hope. It's about friendliness. It's about love. It's about people coming together and sharing a season.
Yeah. I mean, it's time of coming together. It's you know, I would think that just there's certain times that, you know, I think back on, was it a book or it was just an historical event during World War I when they were fighting on Christmas, they stopped killing each other.
Yeah.
You know, I find it so just crazy to think about that. And both sides came out. Here are two sides. They're both professing to be Christians.
Yeah.
Worship the same God. And here they are trying to kill one another. And it's just, you know, it's just, to me, it blows my mind that, but even with that going on, that one day, there was something about that one day that commonality came and said, you know what? We're going to stop.
Right.
We're actually going to treat each other like human beings.
Yeah.
You know, and actually kind of bring a little bit the way it was meant to be.
Right.
You know, and so Christmas to me will always be something special. You know, it always will.
I feel the same way. Like I was saying before, there was my mom's mom was always there for every Christmas and every holiday really, but specifically like she would come and like stay on the pull-out couch at the house for like the days leading up to Christmas. And so it was always a fun time because it was like my grandma was around. She'd always play board games with us or Uno, and we would always make food or there'd be desserts, and it was just such a lovely time. And for me, what really changed was her passing. My mom was very, very close with her, and she meant a lot to her. And when my grandma had passed away, like Christmas just felt different because it was all of us being together and my grandma really, you know, bringing out the happiness of it all. And my mom obviously, you know, kind of mourning the loss, and, you know, our family dynamic changed. And so like there was years after she passed away where Christmas didn't feel like Christmas at all. And it was very sad actually. And like, I feel like it took many years of like going through a whole bunch of that. And, you know, at that time we were also like, you know, teenagers or, you know, late teenagers, all of us, like all three kids were. And so like moving into our like early 20s, like and we're all like moving out and doing our own thing. And so even then, like Christmases were different then. So it's like, it's been weird the past probably, I don't know, 10 years of like, you know, what does like the new Christmas look like? And we've kind of been trying out some new stuff, but for the past probably 2 or 3 years, it's been, I've been hosting it here, and it's been really awesome because all my mom wants to do for the holidays really is just get, you know, my two brothers, myself together. And of course, Mallory is there as well. And being able to have a place where we can all just like come together and hang out and have food and tell stories and all that kind of stuff. And so, I love that we're like starting a new tradition. I'm excited for like the years to come because I really like hosting people at the house, and so it's something that I always enjoy, and especially for the holidays.
Okay, to go extremely serious with y'all for a moment. We're very authentic and genuine, and I really wanted to go into the commercialism of Christmas, maybe we can do that into a minute. But I actually have more serious conversation that I would like to throw at y'all and get your honest opinions. And I think our listeners are going to maybe enjoy this section, and I hope they will. But there has been some fantastic Christmas movies. A White Christmas with Bing Crosby, and that will always be one of my favorite ones. But is it really Christmas until Hans Gruber falls off of Nakatomi Plaza? So is Die Hard actually a Christmas movie or not?
Yes.
The inquiring fans of the Retrospect podcast want to know, is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Yes.
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 It is.
It's not Christmas until Hans Gruber falls off in Nakatomi Plaza.
That's right.
I'm sorry. It's got to happen,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. There's other like shows and movies that are like that.
Sure.
Absolutely. That I feel like are not technically Christmas movies, but happen around Christmas.
Uh-huh.
There's a series that Dylan and I have watched in the past that is like that is not inherently Christmas, but Christmas happens in like 3 of the 6 episodes, and so technically we're like it counts, and so yeah. But anyways,
there was a show. Speaking of movies, there was a great show. It was a Christmas themed movie that I really enjoy. It's called Lost Christmas, and if you get a chance, check it out. It's I think it's for the BBC.
Okay.
But it's a great kind of a little bit of a twist.
Okay.
But when you get a chance, check it out. It's real good. Real good movie. But yeah, so what do y'all? I mean, are y'all more of a Christmas Eve when it comes to gifts? Are y'all Christmas Day, or what do y'all? I mean, I'm a Christmas Eve. That's usually when everything's done for us.
Really, for my family, it was always Christmas Day for my grandma and the immediate family, and would always do like Christmas Eve with the other grandparents and other relatives. It was kind of always. But for right now, because of people's schedules, right now we're actually doing. Well, I guess since you guys are listening to this, is actually on Christmas Day. I forgot. We actually did it on Saturday because of that was everyone still has to work on the weekend before, so or we have other stuff happening with other people. So on today technically, but yeah. So we actually had it on Saturday because that was the time that everyone was available. So. And I think that's mostly what it is. Having myself, my 2 younger brothers, my mom. That's the core right there. Is trying to wrangle up some schedules. A lot of times people do have off, but sometimes the way things fall, it all.
Yeah, I normally be a Christmas Eve. We would. I mean, it's now basically morphed into very simple evening.
Yeah.
My mother does a homemade pizza.
Oh, that's
cool. We kind of munch on that. We exchange gifts. We may, who knows, we might drink a little Pennsylvania Dutch.
There you
might
go.
have a little eggnog or
I love eggnog.
whatever the case may be. And
I love good eggnog.
And then normally what I would do is then I would go home, maybe close my eyes for a little while, then get up and go to midnight mass. So I was kind of a midnight mass type of guy. Because that's just something you did at Christmas,
right?
And but this year, my church is not having a midnight
mass.
Yes, he canceled it because of my understanding is
that usually happens on Christmas Eve, or does it happen on Christmas Day?
It happens at midnight between Christmas Eve and Christmas
okay,
Day.
Right, that's what I thought. Okay,
so and that's traditionally when Christmas was celebrated back in the old days. I mean, that was kind of a very ingrained, it was midnight masses. But basically this year, I think because of the, just a shortage of priests, I think the way the bishop had put something out to the effect that he basically charges pastors at each church, look, schedule your masses where one priest can do them all. So they're not going to have help.
Oh gosh!
So I basically my parish priest basically said he felt like they didn't need three vigil masses on Christmas Eve, because the way Christmas falls this year is Christmas Eve is Sunday.
Yeah.
So you'll need to go to Mass for as Catholics are concerned.
Yeah.
You would go to Mass in the morning for your regular Sunday. Then you either go to Mass either at 4, 7, or midnight, or on Monday
for Christmas.
For Christmas, or because if you go with a vigil, then that counts for Christmas Day.
Right.
So you either have the option of going at one of the three, well, now 2 vigil masses, or 2 masses on Christmas Day.
Oh gosh.
So
okay,
I will be going to Mass on my regular Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And then I will now choose. I'll go to Mass actually on Monday morning.
Okay.
Since there won't be a midnight Mass, so
interesting.
I won't be.
I've always been a big fan of a candlelight service at it,
and that's very common now. That's kind of a growing tradition that's really taken on. Those are beautiful services.
Yeah, I think the one. Well, again, for the listeners, it was 5 p.m. for me. So a little 5 p.m. It's a little dark outside. We all sing, "Joy to the World," and
I had the opportunity. I know in the city of Baton Rouge, I believe they had a Christmas celebration downtown with the various churches.
Really,
where you can go and hear Christmas caroling in each church.
Oh, that's
so
fun.
The choirs of those particular churches would open up the churches and you do a tour.
Oh, how fun!
That's kind of neat,
that's
actually.
Cool.
I like that.
So I don't know if they're still doing it, but I heard in Baton Rouge that's what they do.
Interesting. That's
so cool. But yeah, I think that would be an interesting.
One thing being here in South Louisiana, there is a huge tradition on Christmas Eve. Lighting the bonfires on the river.
Really?
And
that is an
actually. They had to move it this year.
What happened?
But they have to move it one day because of the inclement weather that's coming. This broadcast on actually Christmas Day, so this will have already happened. But there's supposedly some big storms coming through, and so they're moving it a day. But if you've never done that, that's pretty fantastic. And that goes way back to our Cajun roots and things like that. That's a fantastic tradition of showing Santa Claus.
You know who brought that in? It was the Germans.
Okay.
Believe it or not.
Wow.
It was the Germans that actually brought the tradition of the bonfires.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't the French.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
See, a lot of people... Because Louisiana is so now synonymously kind of associated with the French Cajun culture, people forget there were other ethnic groups here that contributed a lot to what Louisiana is today. And a lot of times the Germans and the Spanish are kind of forgotten. And everybody thinks it's all the French.
Yeah. One thing that I had, one of my old friends from high school, he had an uncle that had a bunch of farmland down in the middle of nowhere. And one thing that we would always do was after Christmas and like the week or so preceding, what they would do is they would like go around to neighborhoods and pick up everyone's real Christmas trees that they had left behind. And at New Year's Eve, we would buy a bunch of big fireworks, and they would have a big bonfire out at their farmland, and they would put the Christmas trees on the bonfire. And of course, those things, and they light up. And that was always a big celebration that he would invite me out and other people, other friends of the family and stuff. So there'd be like sometimes 25 people or so out there, and we would have these like big like PVC pipe tubes that would we would light things out of and whatever. And it was a whole bunch of fun. It's like I remember there's been a bunch of traditions like that. The big and I think I mentioned this on like our Thanksgiving episode. Like the big tradition for me was always like the turkey on Thanksgiving, the gumbo that would come after that from my dad, and then on Christmas sometimes it was either turkey or ham or something like that. Was always a big thing that my family would do. So yeah, my dad and then his mom used to always do the ham, greens, and what is it, peas or whatever, health, wealth, and
black-eyed peas.
Black-eyed peas, yeah.
I got to do that on New Year's Day.
Health, wealth, and good fortune, I think it was, or what is it? I forgot the other one. Anyways, they had it was like a whole thing on New Year's Day. They would always do that. Luck. Yeah, luck. Yeah.
I love black-eyed peas.
Oh, so do I.
Same.
I do love black-eyed peas.
It was cabbage. It was ham, cabbage, and black-eyed peas.
Right.
Yeah, it was. He would always do that.
You know what, my black-eyed peas, I'm going to give a little secret here, if y'all don't mind. What I like to do is go to the Honey Baked Ham store. And you know that they save the bones.
Yeah.
When they're finished cutting off the ham and they give it out, the bones still have 10% of the meat on it.
Yeah.
And I like to go and I like to get a couple of those vacuum-sealed bags of bones, and then you take it. There's a knuckle in it. You break it at the knuckle, and then take a hammer or a saw, and you break the bone in half. And depending on how big of a thing you're going to do. But my black-eyed peas, I like to take those, drop both of them in there, and slow cook it for a really long time. So you get all of that meat off of it, but then you get that marrow coming in there and making those black-eyed peas so savory too. So it becomes a really savory dish. And, you put your normal spices and your
I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, man.
I would put bacon on my black-eyed peas, but nothing like that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Normally you would put your bacon, but try this.
Yeah.
And break that bone. You got to break the bone so the marrow gets into it too. Yeah. And it just makes it so savory.
That's crazy.
And
that's awesome, though. That sounds great.
You get some good, nice onions and things like that.
I'm about to come eat some of your black-eyed peas, Stone.
That's one of my little tricks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, with I guess we're coming to the end now, and I can't believe that Christmas is already here.
Yes.
I'm not ready for the beginning of the new year yet. We talked about this on our Thanksgiving episode too. We've had a really great year with this show. I feel like a lot of growth, a lot of great guests, a lot of great topics. I feel like, and I'm
a lot of a lot of listener engagement.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Y'all are guests. Y'all are our guests. Y'all are the guests of the Retrospect.
Exactly. That's what I mean. It's a lot of engagement. A lot
y'all
of
are our family. The Retrospect family.
And I love that. And I'm excited to see where things are going to be coming into the future. So, yeah.
We have a lot to be thankful for.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited. For those of you who are looking to reach out to us, we have a Facebook page, /Retrospect Pod, where you can give your little comments here and there if you want to. But the more long-form ones you can give to our email address, getoffendedtogether@gmail.com. You can do that way. I'm changing up some things on the YouTube channel. I won't go into all the back end stuff because I don't want to bore you with all of it. But like our YouTube channel is going to be hopefully getting a little facelift a little bit with all the new stuff they're doing with YouTube Music and all that. So be on the lookout. I think Google Podcast is going away and you're going to be migrating to YouTube Music. So be on the lookout for that. We should be there, whenever all that drops. So, but anyways, until next time, thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everyone, and Merry Christmas.
You're the best. Peace and love and happiness.